So you're a car enthusiast who's decided that you want to buy a BMW, but the internet's propaganda has got you into thinking that you're going to have to sell your organs in order to afford one. As someone who has owned 4 used out-of-warranty BMWs, I'm here to tell you the truth about how reliable they actually are, how much they actually cost to service, and what you can do to prevent some of the common issues from happening to your car. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, there are just too many people that have said way too many things about how unreliable BMWs are. There's no way that there are any hope for these cars. Well, just like anything in life, nothing is really black and white. There are so many different variables that go into why certain cars have specific issues. Now, all cars, regardless of make and model, are always going to have problems, especially when they're used with higher mileage. But as far as BMWs are concerned, I've really narrowed down the cause of most of their issues down to 3 main things. The first issue being that BMW offers maintenance plans to people who buy their cars brand new. One of these maintenance plans unfortunately offers owners the ability to not pay for oil changes if they only do their oil changes every 10,000 miles. Now, if you're a relatively educated car enthusiast, you will know that for basically any engine that's going to be run hard, 10,000 miles is about twice as many miles as you'd like to put on the oil. So BMW encouraging their customers to go 10,000 miles in between oil changes starting from when the cars are brand new is definitely a cause of why they have issues later on down the road. The second reason being that people buy luxury cars like BMWs because they want an effortless experience, and this unfortunately translates into the maintenance department. People who want a car that's going to be quiet and comfortable often don't want to make the time to even take the cars into the service center. Whereas people that are enthusiastic about cars are often excited to work on their own stuff. For this reason, you'll notice that the BMW M models are often maintained a little bit better than some of the base or mid-tier BMW models. This is only because the people buying the performance cars are more likely to be the type of person who wants to maintain and protect their sports car versus somebody who's buying a BMW to be comfortable and luxurious. And the third and the last point is that used BMWs got so cheap for so long that people had a hard time justifying normal size service bills on cars that cost them $500, $1,000, $1,500. Now, some of you may be young and have never had cars in the shop before, but as somebody who's currently on my 12th car, let me tell you, regardless of what car you buy, any kind of major issue at a shop is going to be between $500 to $1,000. Just think about it. If labor rates are anywhere between $80 to $100 an hour, unless whatever's going wrong on your car only takes an hour to fix and the parts are $0, the likelihood of you fixing anything for $200-300 is basically impossible nowadays. However, when somebody buys a 335 for $800, takes it to a shop and gets a quote for a $4,000 service bill, that seems totally unreasonable. Despite the fact that that same person may go out and spend $12,000 on a 240SX thinking that it's a safer chassis that doesn't have as many problems, when in reality, they spend the same amount of money, if not more, up front just getting the car, and then they find out that, shocker, used old Japanese cars are also not reliable. For this reason, you'll notice that BMW models that have stayed close to their MSRP price as used vehicles are often in much better shape than cars that have depreciated quite a bit, such as this M6. In fact, a good comparison here is that you'll notice that most E90 and E92 M3s that you're seeing put on for sale that are selling for good prices have throttle actuators done, rod bearings are done, all their major issues have already been addressed. However, those cars brand new were about $65,000, and you're still seeing used ones sell for $40,000, $50,000, sometimes even over $60,000. Whereas the M6 was an $140,000 car, and you could find these all the time between 30 and 50 grand. However, if you search for M6s, you'll notice that there are tons of clapped M6s everywhere because people bought them for way less than MSRP, weren't expecting to maintain a car that cost that much, and then just didn't. Now, does this mean BMWs are bad cars? Absolutely not. In fact, just like I said before, any used car you buy is going to have problems at some point, especially if you're driving it enthusiastically. The important thing when buying used BMWs, or just buying any used car in general, is that you pick something that you really want and that you're educated enough on the specific issues that that car has. And I promise you, even if you are buying Hondas, every single car has car-specific issues. If you think Japanese cars are immune to large reliability issues, please walk to your nearest Subaru service center and then retract whatever comment you were about to make to me. Now, I will say this, if you go and purchase a BMW and you don't do your homework, you don't know anything about the model, you don't know anything about their common problems, and you're more or less buying it just because you think it's a nice car, you are probably going to have a bad time. Now, with that being said, the things that you need to do to keep these cars running well is not necessarily difficult or very expensive compared to other cars. However, if you're not aware of your car's specific issues or how to prevent them in the first place, if you drive like how you normally would, you will probably increase the likelihood of these issues happening, and then you feel blindsided by said things happening. So again, your first step should always be identifying what the common problems of the car you're interested in are. With my M6 that I'm sitting in right now, the biggest issue by far all comes down to oiling. These cars like to burn a lot of oil, which leaves not enough oil in the engine, causing metal on metal contact, which eventually explodes the engine. Now, this sounds like a serious issue, right? And honestly, it kind of is. However, it's really not that complicated for me to hit the button that reads how much oil is in my engine, nor is it very complicated to make sure that the engine is warmed up before I actually start beating on it, making sure that it cools down after I'm done beating on it, and just keeping an eye on things, making sure that there's no fluids leaking anywhere. However, despite everything that I've just said, you can actually just address the issue directly by buying aftermarket rod bearings for this engine, and that pretty much prevents that major issue from ever even occurring ever again. And the cost of that repair is less than 10% of what this car cost used. So you're telling me that this car is depreciated $80,000 in value because of a potential issue that could be fixed with a couple $1,000s. I don't really see how that makes any sense. Now you may be saying, oh, who wants to spend an extra few $1,000s right after they buy a car fixing certain issues? Let me tell you something. I used to sell cars at a dealership for a living. There is almost a 0.00% chance that you have ever bought a car from a dealership and only ever paid the price of the car. They got pre-installed PPF on the inside of the door handles they're gonna charge you $1,000 for. Oh, there's an alarm system you didn't know about, 2,500 bucks. Desert protection package, what the f even is that? $1,000? So from my perspective, being able to get a car like this for $45,000, which is what I paid, and then having to pay $3,000 up front to get rid of any potential reliability issues, that doesn't seem like a bad deal to me at all, considering this car was $140,000 brand new. Especially when you consider that people are paying close to six figures for near base model early 2000s 911s, which actually are unreliable and actually are stupid expensive to maintain. Just think about it for a second. If you have to service anything on a car where your engine is in the trunk underneath a piece of carpet, how's that supposed to work, bucko? You got 3 hours of labor before you even get to see the actual engine. I'm going on a rant here, but the point I'm trying to make is that issues like what my BMW M6 has with the oil consumption has artificially depreciated the values of a lot of BMW's coolest cars for a really long time. So yes, if you know what you're doing, you can actually buy a used BMW outside of warranty, and it's still a good deal. Not every out-of-warranty German car is a bad deal. And chances are, the person telling you that is paying $987 a month on a Subaru Crosstrek that they got charged $10,000 markup on. So, I mean, everybody's making financial mistakes. Just make the ones that you want to make. The last thing that I would like to mention is truly to change your perspective about the way that you look at the prices of these cars. Again, I can understand how any number of you could see somebody like me buying a car for $45,000 and then immediately immediately spending $4,000 fixing it as a terrible financial move. But it's all relative, right? That amount of money equals out to, let's say, $50,000 total, right? What car are you buying for $50,000 that comes anywhere close to what this M6 is? You're talking a V8 with 2 turbos on it, rear wheel drive, LSD, has a dual clutch transmission, the seats rub your butt cheeks, the roof looks like a billionaire's carpet, my boy. New, used, high miles, low mileage, whatever. What car are you buying for $50,000 that offers everything that this car offers? You're not. 50 grand is buying you 5.0 Mustangs, a down payment on a Dark Horse Mustang, a Civic Type R, an Integra Type S. And granted, yes, these are all newer cars. But thanks to how wild the car market's been, even a lot of those cars with similar mileage to what my M6 have really aren't that much different in price than what this M6 costs. And like I mentioned before, those cars aren't really immune to issues either. Take a $50,000 5.0 Mustang as a perfect example. That car is awesome. I actually genuinely really like S550 Mustangs. But the 6-speed manual is made out of pretzels and apparently just breaks all the time. Will you think just because it's a Ford, a transmission replacement is gonna be 800 bucks? No, bro, that's like a $5,000-$6,000 bill. All I'm saying as the internet's #1 BMW propaganda artist is that all cars are going to give you problems, especially if you're driving performance cars. I mean, let's be real, you're doing burnouts, you're doing donuts, you're trying to go to track days, you're doing all of this stuff that clearly abuses the car. Something at some point is eventually going to give. And it's a perfectly even give and take in the car world. For the less problems a car is going to give you, the less fun it is going to be. Take a Tesla Model 3 Performance as a perfect example. That car is the most just turn it on, get in it, never think about anything mechanical ever automobile. And yes, it's fast, but if you've driven a Model 3 for any more than 2 weeks, you'll know it is the most boring car ever made of all time ever. Meanwhile, something like this, yeah, it might stress you out a little bit in the mechanics department, but the experience of what you get in exchange for you having some mechanical issues, to me at least, is worth it. My point is if you're in a financial position to finally purchase yourself a BMW that you've been looking for, don't be scared to do it. Do your homework, understand the pros and cons of the particular model that you're after, and when it comes to actually buying one, be patient. If you think a particular example is sketchy, or you think that a car doesn't have enough service history to make you feel okay, pass on the deal, go find another car. But ultimately, I am a firm believer that any car can be made reliable with enough education and then obviously, of course, enough money too. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button. If you didn't like it, hit that dislike button, and I will see you guys some other time.